This house, right, is the hardest to find my favorite area. I would say this house has a lot of character. When you walk in, right, you feel like you know what the owner like or don't like. As some of you may know, Easy ID is running a home sponsorship program for homeowners. A lot of you have asked me, right, what is actually a nice house? Because that's subjective, right? But today, I'm going to show you what is an objectively nice looking house. This house that we are featuring today is a 5-room HDB BTO, 1,245 square feet, and the theme is really something special. So later I will let you know. The renovation duration took about 4 months and is renovated by Hui Ling from Kiro Studio. Starting at the entrance, right, this place looks like a ryokan. Just at the entrance, you will see a concrete stone that is very interesting feature. So the designer, right, actually explained to me, right, that in ryokan, right, we have the step up into the house. But because HDB don't really allow that feature, she actually drew this entire stone and then the taller cut the stone and fit it in. And the thing is, this stone is not jugging out, so that when you walk through it or you pull like your market trolley or what, right, it does not hit anything or make a lot of weird sounds, but yet still retain the ryokan feeling of stepping into the house. So it's details like this, right, that make this house really very special. This sliding door actually opens up to the main living area, and then they have this divider that is glass block. So can I say it's really Japanese? Because Japanese don't really use glass blocks. So it's very peculiar on how I should describe this house. Now that we are done with the entrance, I'm going to show you the rest of the house, and the rest of the house is cream the cream. Once you enter this area, right, you'll be greeted by the living room and the kitchen. But what's interesting, right, is the floor. This floor is from Floor Expert, and they chose a very specific design. It looks like terrazzo flooring, but if you take a closer look, right, it has flower patterns. And what the designer want to do is like transit from the stone to nature. Each of these floor tile, right, the flower patterns, right, is different. It's all unique, and it's very cool because like wherever you see, right, you might see new details that you might never see before. So this flooring is from Floor Expert, and if you want to know which model is this, right, it's their most popular model, you can click on our promo deck in our description box, right, to find out what model it is. Next, because this unit is a dumbbell unit, right, this clock can be seen from both sides, and it's also a detail, right, because of the ceiling. If you look at the ceiling, right, there's a black border, right, that is done by loopy paint. The designer has specifically requested for this detail, right, because in traditional ryokan houses, right, they do have these black borders. So they got loopy paint to very precisely draw this border out. It looks simple, but it's actually a very precise amount of work required to do this black border. And right above that, right, you'll see the ceiling and all the walls, right, is all lime wash from loopy paint. And if you watch my previous house tour, right, ever since I worked with them, right, their lime wash is the most impressive one that I ever seen. Their lime wash can be customizable to any color with no additional cost. And the good thing about lime wash, right, is that it can control moisture, so your humidity in your house can be controlled. And it ages gracefully, which means to say, right, over time, right, the look will change subtly. It will look like it has more and more character as time goes by. So that's the good thing about lime wash. But right, if you find a not so good vendor, right, then your whole house will look cheap. So this is an example of a lime wash, right, that works very well. Okay, the living room is an entirely different scene, right, because it has a lot of colors. It almost feels like it's a bit of eclectic, but it's also a bit of Japandi at the back. The colors of the carpet, the sofas and the chairs, and even the side table is all different. So it has this pop of color, right, that really shows a lot of character in the house. But over here at the back, right, we have a lot of Japanese elements. In case you can't tell, the owners really love Japan. Over here, right, you can see, right, this particular feature of the console table. The designer always wanted to try out tiles on countertops, but if put in the kitchen, right, the grout lines, right, will make it very dirty and greasy. So they put it here at the TV console, and the effect stunning. It's so unique because I have never seen this type of effect before. Even their decorative art, right, is purposely chosen to match with the countertop. As for their power solution, right, they have opted for line 8, but what they are doing different from the other houses that I've been doing, right, some people may choose to entirely hide it, but then if you entirely hide it, you might lose the accessibility. So it's up to you. And then one other thing, right, is this designer also quite sick, because, right, if you look at the back of the TV, this picture wall, you might think that this is laminate, but no, this one is real wood. You can see from the side, right, there is actual wood, right, put together. So I think a little bit overkill, because I feel like if you put a laminate or wall paneling, right, might not be able to tell the difference. But the designer is so particular in the detail, right, that I really appreciate this. Before we move on to the kitchen, in this particular frame, right, you will see a couple of Mount Fuji. So let us know in the comments how many you sell. Of all the the houses that I ever did, right, this house, right, is the hardest to find my favorite area because the kitchen is also so strikingly beautiful. And as you can see, right, the kitchen is not a very big space, but let me show you the details that they thought of to make the whole kitchen look very nice. So the ID have chosen terracotta tiles for the kitchen and they use white grout. You must be thinking, white grout in kitchen? Why white color? Won't it get very easily dirty? So they choose white, right, so the terracotta tile will pop up even more. Well, honestly, the homeowner is more concerned about aesthetics more than functionality lah. So they have this carpentry to put in their usual fridge and stuff like that. And this is their cooking area, and as you can see, the black splash is this crazy design again. This time around, black grout, because they are aware that the stains and all that will be stuck at the grout, but it's easier to clean and not so obvious when it's dirty. Yeah, but look at the design though, it's so nice. And the cooking style of the homeowner, right, is they want to be able to access all their tools at once, so there's a lot of open shelving here. Then below it, right, you will see all these condiment rack, obviously from Excel hardware. What the homeowner told us, right, is they have underestimated the contribution of space saving, right, from Excel hardware. As you can see, right, they are able to put a lot of their condiments here, their instant noodles here, and every cabinet, right, have their own Excel accessory like this. You can put all your heavy pots and big pots here. They even have this new accessory, right, it's like Tic Tac, but it will close by itself. You see, apparently, right, the designer was saying, right, that if you use Tic Tacs too many times, right, eventually it will wear out. But this one actually helps it last longer. So there's this new mechanism that exists in Excel's hardware variety of products. Then over here, right, they got two open dish rack because they don't want to have a dishwasher. And it's so conscientious, right, because this dish rack is not double layer, so that they can put the big pots. And this dish rack have two layers so they can put their smaller things. And all this is the matte black stainless steel series from Excel hardware. But if you are buying Excel hardware accessories, please be careful, don't buy the counterfeit one. There's a lot of counterfeit one floating out there. Make sure you head over to the website, talk to the salesperson, and you will get the real one, which comes with a lifetime warranty if you buy the real one. Next up, we got our Regal here. This is the sink from Regal. This is the gunmetal series and it's a Hexa shell kitchen sink. Okay, what does it mean, right? It's anti-scratch, anti-rust, and it comes with this tab that you are able to pull out. Nowadays, it's very popular to have this. I don't know why back at the 80s or 90s when I was growing up, don't have this type of thing. Then it's very hard to wash, but now it makes it a lot easier. It also comes with accessories like the chopping board that is fitted nicely here, and if you don't want it, you can just remove it. And also this rack that you can put your things to let it drain of water. And then this one is not from Regal, but what the ID thought of, right? This is a very smart idea. This may look like an ordinary dustbin to you, and it is an ordinary dustbin, but the purpose of it, right, is if you're preparing food, right, you can just throw all your food here. Then I asked how to access the dustbin. Is it must go below? No, you can just remove the whole thing here, then you just dump it. And it's so accessible. It's very good because for those people that actually got do housework and wash their plates, right? You know all the food that is stuck in the drain. Then you always like look at it, it's so disgusting, and then you bring it to the rubbish chute, and then you just drop on the floor. Then your dog go and eat. Yes, it just happened to me yesterday. This solves that problem. Is that cool? Okay. Then they got this countertop for food preparation. So they use sintered stone because sintered stone is now a very popular choice. It has heat resistant and bunch of things resistant, okay? And it also looks like a stone. It does not feel like a stone though. So it's your preference lah. For me, I do like the stone feeling. So sintered stone may not be something that I like. This almost feels like a little bit laminate, but visually it still looks very good. And this countertop is not just aesthetic, right? It's also functional because on the other side is a bar area, so they can prepare drinks and serve their guests there. Then over here they got a matcha station. As you already know, they are Japan fanatic. Everything about Japan they have here. Even the cups look like Japanese. Underneath it, right, we got the wells. So wells is a water dispenser, right, where you can control the temperature and the amount of water it dispenses. They chose this dark maroon red color, right? Goes very well with the house. This is the slickest water filter out there. A lot of water filter come dispenser, right, always look very blocky and big, and it feels overly complicated, and it sometimes really look like doctor equipment in the kitchen, but their one is very aesthetic. And nowadays, right, in this age and time of social media, a lot of people want their house to be aesthetic, and when it comes to water filter, right, I don't think there's anything prettier than Wells water filter. So make sure you check them out. So There's plenty of storage in the kitchen despite the space being quite small. And if you see, they have a lot of drawers. Like from my vision, I see like there's 9 drawers right here, and then a lot of cabinets and pull-out racks. It's pretty cool. They have fully utilized every single space, and they can store the whole kitchen here. And at the same time, still have the open shelving so that it looks pretty. And one last thing I want to show you, right, is if you look at this feature here, right, this entire plug is terbalik. You might think it's a mistake, but no, because if it's terbalik, right, they want to put their air fryer, everything, right, actually it's more accessible. You think about it, the wire will just come up here instead of going down and coming up again. Over here at the dining area, right, they use mismatched chair. Do you know the beauty of mismatched chair, right, that I saw on a documentary? Mismatched chair, right, actually, right, if any of the chairs spoil, right, you don't have to buy a matching set. Because let's say all the chairs is this wooden chair, right, the next batch of the wooden chair that is produced might not have the same shade or the grain. So when it comes to mismatched chair, right, any of the chairs break, right, you can just replace with no worries. Everything will still look good together. So that's one benefit of mismatched chair you can consider. But I would say it does not fit all team. It fits their team perfectly, right, because they have a lot of pop of colors. So I feel like their house got a lot of Japanese element, but it's also a bit eclectic. So it depends what your style is. Then as we move back, right, you will see behind us, right, is a study room. This is where they work. And they even have this open window where they can just open it up and feel more breezy. I think it's a pretty cool feature. And if you look at all this window, right, you might think it's a laminate. No, again, the ID insists using the real wood, because when it comes to real wood, right, then they can have such a very slim frame for the window. If you use laminate, it might be a bit thicker. So it's details like this that make this whole house look very striking and beautiful. Then over here, this is the balcony. They also chose these bamboo blinds to complete the ryokan and Japanese experience, so it looks very, very nice and cohesive. So they didn't do much in the balcony. They just added some pebbles and some IKEA tiles there. Now that we are done in the dining and the balcony, we will head over to the study room. If you are still watching the video up to now, right, you must be wondering, right, where the owner get all these knickknacks, all this furniture, right? They got it all from Taobao. The ability of how they curate the items to buy for their house is amazing. So I'm going to steal all the links from them, put it in the promo deck, so make sure to check them out. So this particular type of furniture, right, they actually tell me that this is bloody heavy, like must 3 men to come and carry and construct this whole thing. I thought it was pretty nice. It's like rustic yet modern at the same time. Then over here, right, we got this French door that leads into the study room. One of the special thing, right, is that the ID, right, insists to use this wire glass. Okay, this wire glass is not commonly seen in residential area. It's commonly seen in commercial units in the 80s or 90s. It's something exists back in my time, but I don't see it anymore. I thought it was such a cool element because it makes the whole place look very retro, which the whole study room has a very retro theme. Immediately, when you come to the study room, right, you are greeted by this book rack thing that they bought from Taobao also. They have a lot of their board games, their books here, a lot of these nice features, right? And the color coordination of this is just insane, like so curated. I think the ID is a very good stylist, and I also want them to style for me. So over here at the computer area, it's just a very standard sit down stand up table, right? But they integrate the Line 8 power track into the table, so you can plug in all your gadgets and your computer stuff. Maybe what you don't know about Line 8, right, is that apart from the plug that have the power, they also got different plugs specifically for USB-C or USB. And you can also customize the power track to even accept LAN cables. If you're interested, you can check out their website to see what else they offer. And then over here, they have this very cozy couch, and then you have this view. So what the homeowner like to do is like take a boat and just chill. This is the guest room. Okay, the guest room is pretty simple. It has a some wardrobe, the bed, a bedside table, and that's it. But what's so special, right, is this feature wall behind, right, is from Studio Integrate, and this is a wall paneling. This wall paneling, right, consists of natural elements like all these porous, right. It's not just a printed graphic, you can actually feel it. And right, what the ID chose to do, right, is combine this wall paneling with Loopy Paint's lime wash. There's a layer of coat of the lime wash, right, over this wall paneling so that it looks even more raw and more natural. So if you're using wall paneling, right, one thing to to take note, right, is if you look very closely, you might see joint lines. And how to avoid that, right, is if you got some vertical patterns, right, it can look very similar from afar. So until you really come very close, right, you cannot see the joint lines one. And then this wall paneling, right, come in different textures. You can choose something like leather, fabric, you can choose wood, you can choose metal. There's a lot of options. So you can check out their website if you want to know more. We are the second corridor because this is a dumbbell unit, and this access the service yard, the common toilet, and the master bedroom. They continue their Japanese elements, right, by having these particular curtains. And over here, right, is where they put their washing machine, and they hide and conceal their pipes here. So to access the pipes, they can just remove the shell and they can access the pipes if they need. Very interestingly, they put a sink here. Okay, this sink is from Regal. Apparently, because I don't do enough laundry, I don't know, right? Not everything can throw in the washing machine, and sometimes must hand wash. So this is where they hand wash. Then behind we got a washing machine and dryer. Nowadays, a lot of people like to use this twin tower concept, right? Because the houses are getting smaller and smaller. So this actually saves a lot of space. Right above it is the Steigen laundry rack. The Steigen laundry rack, right, has a lot of features. It can on light, it can blow fan, it can have UV light to kill bacteria. You can have it come down, you can extend the rods to put in more clothes, put in your socks and underwear and everything. So I think there are some things that you can tumble in the dryer, but there are some things that are more delicate. You can dry at the laundry rack. And then if you're not so urgent and it's a bright sunny day, you can use the window. You have a lot of options here. So the owner went with all these options so that it's easier for them to settle their laundry. I think that's very conscientious. And then you see this, you might think is a countertop. No, it's just a cloth because they hide their mess here. Just now I asked the homeowner, right, where you buy this laundry basket, because it's pretty cool. It's in a wheel, and then I thought it's somewhere from IKEA. No, it's from Taobao. So I'm going to take the link and buy it for myself. Because sometimes when after a whole day of work, right, I want to bring the laundry to the washing machine, right, wow, tiring, I have to carry it like that. So this is pretty cool. Okay, so now we are heading to the common toilet. Before I go into the common toilet, right, I need to show you all. Their doors, right, this is a terracotta color. They have added this feature here. It lets a lot of natural light come in, and I thought that is a pretty cool feature. Coming in here at the common toilet, we have Kit Kat tiles. If we talk about subway tiles, it's a little bit more too. This Kit Kat tiles, right, there's a lot of grouting. And you can see, right, they again use the white color grouting to make the color pop up. And the homeowners regret the grout. Not because of the functionality, but because of the color of the grout. They use white grout, right, so that the tiles can pop up more. But actually, they should have went to black grout, because they say that their friends come here, they were in the at the toilet bowl, and then they stare at the wall, and it was very trippy for them, which I think is a bit strange lah. Why are you staring at the wall when you're using the common toilet? I don't know. Okay, and then here, this mirror, right, you can see is tiltable, and you can see how many people behind making a video. It's quite a lot of people, okay, and we haven't eaten lunch, okay, so I want to get this over and done with. Then over here, right, we got this Japanese soy sauce light feature, and they complement it with Japanese fish towel, and both is a fish element and Japanese element, which is really cool. I like the detail. Coming to this area, right, this is the basin. They use a stone-shaped basin, so it has a very organic and natural element, which I think is pretty cool, because in common toilet you don't actually do like big things like makeup and all the thing lah. So this small is enough already. Over here at the shower area, this is from Regal, and finally, it's not gunmetal. This is matte chrome. So this is a 4-in-1 shower system, right, where you can access the rain shower, you can access the hand shower, the bidet, and even the normal water that just comes out from below. So I asked them, how come they got 2 bidets? Because they say with this bidet, right, you can wash the rest of the bathroom. For that bidet is can use for your toilet business lah, which I think is a very nice touch to the details. Then over here, this water closet, right, this is from Regal. Again, I'm very familiar with this because my house also uses the same thing. This is a rimless design, which means the dirt don't get trapped in blind spots. And then their flushing feature is a whirl function, which means the water goes around the whole toilet bowl, because when it goes around, right, all the small splatter also can clean. It is a toilet bowl that if you want very low maintenance, right, you should get this. Okay, now that we are done with the common toilet, we are heading to the master bedroom. Okay, we are here at the master bedroom. This master bedroom are very peculiar. For most standard layout, right, we will put the bed against the wall. However, right, because they want to fit a king size bed, right, there is simply no way to do so. So they changed the orientation to this particular orientation. And of course, this bed is from USA. This is the USA adjustable bed. So this one, right, is very similar to the very first one that I have, where you can adjust the feet area to come up, or the head area to come up, or even the middle area to come up, depending on the positions that you like. And I recommended them to get a USA plush. So to explain what does the plush series differ from other mattresses, right, is because it has this special latex, right, that allows very comfortable airflow. And then, right, there's some parts that are soft and some parts that are firm. So like your lower back, your neck area, right, is a little bit more firm, but the rest of the area is very soft, so it feels like you're sleeping on cloud. So it is the best mattress I have slept so far. And this includes, right, I got a friend that bought a $30,000 mattress. I go lie down on his bed. I still prefer my bed, but I had to lie to him and say, yeah, very nice, very nice. Next time I buy, next time I buy. But I'm not. Okay, so over there, right, the wall, right, it has this very crazy cave-like pattern. This is actually done by Loopy paint, and it's actual paint, okay? They have to paint it in such a way, right, where you will feel the texture, right, and then it has this 3D effect, right, and it looks very, very cool. Although I do find it that, 这个就没有那个 Japanese feel 了. I just keep thinking, right, what theme this house have? So I have decided there's no theme. Everything is so personalized in the house. So that's from Loopy paint. Loopy paint can do such textures, right, if you want. Can customize with no additional cost. And then if you look at all the wardrobe, right, they have used this cross-readed glass, right, so that the whole place doesn't look very confined and claustrophobic. Inside their wardrobe, right, there's this very cute rack where you can put your pants, and then you can put a lot of your pants, okay? This is actually from Excel Hardware. They have a lot of these new cool accessories that I never see. If I seen it, right, I would have put it in my house. Over here, we got their homeowners makeup area. So she will do all her makeup here, and behind this mirror is all her barang-barang. She don't like to sit down to do makeup. She likes to stand up and do makeup. So this is perfect for her. And then over here, we are entering the master bathroom. And a big ass mirror that you get to see my crew again! Yay! So here, they opted for subway tiles instead of the KitKat tiles. It looks a lot more like a hotel vibe when you actually stand here. The other elements are pretty much the same. It's quite simple. But the shower area though, the shower area, they have used this dark chocolate brown subway tiles, right, to have the very moody feeling. This whole place is just littered by this LED strip, and it is a very cozy and nice feeling. For the shower set, right, they have went with the Regal Matte Chrome 4-in-1 shower set. So this one are special. This one will tell you exactly what temperature and how long you shower, which is quite cool because the owner have found out that he likes at 39 degrees sharp. Now that we are done with the tour, let's go back to the living room. So overall, this house got mid-century elements, Japandi elements, and some retro elements. I would say this house has a lot of character. When you walk in, right, you feel like you know what the owner like or don't like. Okay, you know the owners like anime, Japan, must have went to Japan many times. It's really cool. This is the example of what I'm looking for, what I determine as a very nice looking house, and what vendors are willing to sponsor. And as you know, Easy ID is running a sponsorship program for homeowners. So if you found your ID through Easy ID, you can ask your ID to send in the 3D render of their house to us, and we'll send it to all the vendors and sponsors. And if they like what they see, you can get partial to full sponsorship of your home renovation. So to qualify for the sponsorship, all you need to do is these 3 simple steps. Number 1, visit our website. Number 2, meet the IDs. And number 3, submit your design to us and stand a chance for this sponsorship program. And if you use HomePay on top of Easy ID, you get extra chances to win a car. For the past 2 years, we have given away 2 Teslas, and one of them was won by a 24-year-old student. Overall, I hope that you enjoyed this house tour, and I will say that among all the houses that we did, this is one of the houses that really left a very good impression. It is so pretty, it has so much character, I really like it. All the things you see in this house, including the decor and the knickknacks, will all be included in the promo deck in our description box. So if you're curious about where he bought that dustbin, where he bought the laundry basket, right, it will all be inside this document. So as always, remember to follow all our socials, click here for more, click here to subscribe, and cut to the bloopers. They also use a grout design. 奇怪, they have this mirror that is tiltable, and you will see my handsome videographer here.